This is Cheryl Manley from Sharing Love of Paper. I'm so glad you could join me today. This two-part video series was inspired by my need to start work on a series of family history albums. This series will review some of the tips and tricks I learned when making the set of albums for the other side of the family. I'll want to remember these tips as I work on this project. Today, I'll discuss 3 types of documentation: family relationships, fragile family mementos, and newspaper clippings, showing how I've handled them in the past. But first, a note about the album itself. When creating a family heritage album, instead of using a 12 by 12 size like I usually do, I like to use letter-sized 8.5 by 11 albums. The main reason is because there are often other family members that want copies, and it's much easier to scan in letter-sized paper and print it out than it is to scan and print 12 by 12 pages. There are other advantages too that you may notice as I share some of these pages. For now, I'll start with pages that demonstrate various ways of showing family relationships on a scrapbook page. This first page is how I show ancestors. I created it using Microsoft Word and its built-in drawing capabilities. It shows the person, their parents, and their parents' parents in boxes with lines drawn from each person's box to their parents' boxes. Below each box is a listing of that person's siblings. For the last boxes, if I have that person's parents' names, I list them above the box. Here's another style of page. I lucked out years ago when I was working on my first set of family history scrapbooks. I was at a scrapbook store that was having a clearance sale and found a bunch of these page kits and grabbed them. This first page actually was also from the same set, a companion page with a bit of leaf embossing. This page actually has an embossed tree on it. I don't know how well that shows up on camera, but it's quite nice in person. These were from a company called Mount Olympus Publishing. The package was called Expandables. Unfortunately, these packs are no longer available, but with a good set of cutting dies, you could use the idea to make pages without the embossing. If you wonder how to use cutting dies on an 8.5 by 11 sheet when your die cutting machine is only 6 inches wide, stay tuned for the second video in this series. It will answer that question. Anyway, here you simply have the front page with holes for the pictures to slip behind and a large circle for additional pictures or journaling. After everything has been attached to the circular wheel, it is attached to the back of the main page using a brad that attaches to the center of the wheel. I got these in 2 different colors, the white and the beige. I'm sure you'll see more of these as I start work on this next project. I started with pictures of the main subject and her parents toward the bottom of the page. However, this page kit allowed me to show not only her sister up here, but then to go ahead and describe how her father died when she was 7 and her mother remarried when she was 11. As you turn the wheel, you see a picture of her stepfather and of her new step-siblings. This allows me to add these additional details without making the page too crowded or taking away from the basic family page. This is another type of page that I made. It's similar to the first one in that it's made in Microsoft Word with boxes and lines between them showing the relationships. But instead of being an ancestor page, this one shows the descendants. It starts with the person and their spouse, then their children, and the children's children, etc. For clarity, I've drawn double lines between spouses. As you can see, I've printed it with a title onto a patterned paper to add a bit more interest to the page. Again, this would have been more challenging if I was creating 12 by 12 pages, though I could have still made it work. Anyway, those are some examples of ways to illustrate family relationships. Next, we'll look at how to handle fragile family papers. Here's my first fragile document. I have a vellum pocket that I made that has a family record that was taken from the front of an old New Testament. It's the front page that contains the family record. The paper is very fragile, so I didn't want people handling it, but I did want to include it. It's still possible to get to it, but mostly it's just here in a protected pocket. But you can see through to what it looks like. Of course, people still want to know everything that's on that fragile piece of paper. I scanned it in and printed the top title piece a couple of times, adding it to the flap here and to the top of the next page. Everything that is on this paper is printed here so that people can see all the information. Similarly, I have this set of pages. It's a set of journal pages where my great-grandmother recounts a flood that occurred in their area. Once again, I've created a vellum pocket to put the pages in so they wouldn't be handled, but folks can still see through to the handwriting. And I typed up and printed what was on the pages so folks can read the story here. I could have printed photocopies of the pages, but that would have taken several pages to display rather than having it all on one double-page layout like I have here. I handled this letter in a similar way. I actually attached it. Hey, where's my envelope? The envelope must have fallen out when I pulled this from the protective sleeve. I'll have to look for it. Anyway, I attached both it and the letter using clear photo mounting corners. I've used these a lot on my heritage pages. The letter was from a relative in East Germany and tells a bit about life there before the wall came down. It's written in German. A friend translated it for me. It actually took 2 typewritten pages to show it all. These are actually pages from 2 different 2-page spreads. The one with the actual letter is next to a page with the author's photo. The translated letter is on the next 2 pages in the scrapbook, and this is the first of these. Once again, people won't be handling the letter, but they will know what it said. Next up is this. It's a bulletin from my grandfather's graduation. I've again attached it with clear photo corners so it's not actually glued to the page. Rather than having people handle it to see the inside and back of the bulletin, I scanned it in and printed it out to put on this page. The arrows point to the parts my grandfather and his friend played in the program. I have several examples of letters. Here's another one, actually a couple of letters and a copy of what they said on this second page. And here's another one. This time we only had a photocopy. Someone else had the original. This is the old style of photocopy on that horrid paper where the writing fades over time. As you can see, these pages came out of the photo corners, so I'm just putting them back in. Once again, the letter is transcribed over here. It's nice to have it typed up so we don't have to ponder over the handwriting each time we want to read it. Here I have a vellum envelope that I've tucked into a slit in the page. It contains notes my great-grandmother made regarding a trip to Texas, complete with costs. There's actually another page that comes before this one that has some of the information. It makes for interesting reading. The last type of family memorabilia are cards. This was a condolence card. You can see the outside of the card here, and then this print-up is what was said inside the card. Once again, the information is available without everyone handling the card. Okay, the last thing I'll talk about today is newspaper clippings. There were a lot of newspaper clippings I wanted to use. Unfortunately, newspaper is definitely not acid-free and can cause deterioration of not only the newspaper itself, but also the materials around it. At the time I made these albums, the recommendation was to use an archival spray on such papers. The spray was supposed to mitigate the acidity in the paper so it would last longer. Frankly, this is an area I'm going to have to explore more about. It appears this is no longer the recommended practice, but I haven't really kept up with the topic. Anyway, this is what I did for this album, and these next pages show how I incorporated the sprayed newspaper articles into my albums. This first one is a page that tells the story of this great-grandfather of mine, and it includes this newspaper clipping about him. Again, I added it to the page using clear photo corners. I really didn't want to use adhesive on those delicate papers. Even though I use photo corners, I can still decorate the page. You can see the decorative mat that I put there. This is overlapping that clear corner. Here I glued these decorations to the clear corners, and I cut little triangles that I put behind these ones. Here we have the newspaper clipping taking up pretty much the whole page, but I did print up a little title that I cut into a strip here and added a few embellishments at the top of the page. Here's another page where the clippings are the main part of the page. Notice what I've done with embellishments. This is overlapping a bit, but only stuck to the photo corner, and not the clipping itself. These arrows are cut long and left loose, so they're glued to the page but not the newspaper clippings, and they point to the name of the subject of the page. These 2 pages are pretty busy, but they have a lot of fun things on them. The first is about the announcement of my grandmother's betrothal at a special party. The second is about engagement parties that were held for her. They not only include newspaper clippings, but also other keepsakes. This napkin, for example, was from a surprise lingerie shower that a couple of her girlfriends gave her. The napkin itself was damaged previously by the use of glue, but I attached it without adhesives so it wouldn't make it worse. This is her handwriting directly on the napkin, telling a little bit about that party. This last page is one where the newspaper clippings are secondary to the big picture. Again, I have a big arrow, this time with some information on it. Because the title, picture, and journaling block here are white, they pull the eye and the newsprint fades more into the background, though it is made to feel at home on the page due to the color of the large arrow and these corner embellishments. So those are the ideas and examples I wanted to share today. The second video in this series will be a look at adding heritage photos and handling the challenges that come with some of them. I hope you've enjoyed this video and will choose me, Cheryl Manley, as your demonstrator when you purchase any Stampin' Up! Products. It won't cost you any extra, and I'll get a small commission to help support my channel. If you click that thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, you'll make my day. Thanks, and have a great one.